has to have been viewed positively by the people who've been protesting.
It's a right step in the right direction, but as people said on the streets, or people saying there is a whole mistrust. I mean, it's like people get rid of, let's say, a regime or a president, but doesn't mean that the regime is not there. And as a matter of fact, all the demands is related to somehow how it is reflected on their everyday life. Because it's not just like appointment. As a matter of fact, we are focusing on, if we are focusing on the Military Supreme Council, the Military Supreme Council is a transitional period. It's not the one who's going to make decision till the end.
Indeed.
It has to make some form of elections or president elections. So after that, he will be in charge of this politics.
All right, so tell us more about this new Prime Minister, Issam. He apparently, at one point, joined the pro-democracy activists in Tahrir Square. So certainly this would be the people's man.
We don't know. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to, because this is the whole issue. The whole concept was anybody but Shafiq. This is the first thing. Second, people are looking for a technocrat cabinet, so they can be in charge of the everyday life of the Egyptians. Third, don't forget, the whole idea is a transitional. Whether Shafi or Assam Sharaf or anybody else, he has to stay there for maybe 6 months. Fourth, the demands of the people, which is related to the security of the streets and everyday life, and to be the economy. As a matter of fact, the last 2 days or 3 days, people start to a little bit complain about the economy, because at the end of the day, they have to put bread on their table. And this demand is going to be, the cabinet is going to take care of it, the security of the streets, still students, most of the students all over Egypt are not back to the school. We have about 15 million students who have to go back to school.
So a lot of challenges ahead for this new cabinet.
Of course, challenges.
Thank you very much, Thomas Gorgesian, for being here. All right, some more breaking news now to tell you about here on Al Jazeera, this time on Somalia. The head of a private security company says his guards have retaken control of a yacht from Somali pirates after the Dutch couple on board locked themselves in a safe room. Apparently, 6 of the guards were accompanying this yacht on a separate motorboat, and 6 armed pirates were able to get on board the yacht, but the Dutch couple barricaded themselves in the boat. This comes after a Danish family and 2 crew aboard a yacht were also hijacked off the coast of Somalia last week. Now, let's go back to the uprising in Libya. And after a day of fighting for control of the oil town of Brega, there's been another air attack there. But rebels say they're pushing Gaddafi forces back. Libyan rebels armed with rocket launchers, anti-tank, aircraft guns and tanks have shored up defenses to fight off Gaddafi's forces. Now, the UN says that camps on Libya's border crossings are at a crisis point, with tens of thousands of foreign nationals still trying to flee the country. There are more than 50,000 Bangladeshis still trapped there, and the government says it has no evacuation plan for them. Now, unrest in Libya has sent shockwaves through the world's oil market. Prices have risen to their highest in more than 2 years. Libya is the 17th largest oil-producing nation in the world. The country exports most of its oil and represents 2% of global oil supply. Libyan industry experts are saying that the country is losing an estimated $100 million in oil revenue a day. Well, Libya has 5 domestic refineries in Ras Lanouf, Brega, Sarir and Tobruk in the east, and AlJazeera in the west. Now, much of the east is now in rebel hands. Fighting near oil fields has cut production in half. Oil exports have also ground to a halt. Let's speak to Kate Durian. She's an energy expert and the Middle East editor of Platts, joins us live from Dubai. Thank you very much, Kate, for speaking to Al Jazeera. So, what impact is this unrest in Libya having on energy prices and the energy sector around the world as a whole?
Well, it has pushed prices to their highest level in 2.5 years. Partly because you've lost nearly 1 million barrels from Libya, and partly because of fears that A, the stoppage might be prolonged, they may not be able to go back to their normal level, and also the fear of contagion to other producing countries, Algeria, for example. Other people say, you know, maybe Iran. So I think the risk factor is has multiplied, and that's pushing prices higher.
And when you hear that a protest is also planned in Saudi Arabia on March 11th, how worrying is that, you think, for the oil industry?
I think it's in the back of people's minds that there may be a risk of contagion. I don't know how big, if this protest does go ahead. I mean, it's a sort of Facebook call. We haven't really seen too much response to it. So I think it's just a question of waiting to see. But obviously, when you see these kinds of things, it raises the fear. Saudi Arabia is basically the central bank of the energy industry. They are the ones who have the most of the world's spare capacity, and obviously as they ramp up production, if they ramp up production to make up for the loss of Libyan oil, spare capacity globally will shrink, and that also has an impact on price, because people will be concerned that if you have a stoppage from any other part of the world, well, for any reason, whether political unrest or even natural disasters, then the world will find it very, very difficult to cope.
And what impact is the unrest in Libya having on the oil industry inside the country, and what is it costing to the Libyan economy?
Well, I mean, obviously the Libyan stoppage has caused prices to go to their highest level so far this year, in fact the highest in 2.5 years, so they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. They are exporting some, there are some problems with the weather, but it is obviously costing their revenue. It accounts for more than 90% of their foreign revenues. And I think with the sanctions that have been imposed, you're seeing a fight now for Mers el Brega, which is a terminal. I saw in AlJazeera Arabic a headline saying that pro-Gaddafi forces were massing at Ras Lanouf, which is another terminal, to try to retake Brega. So I think, you know, Gaddafi having said, this is our lifeline, we're going to fight to the last man or woman, it looks as if he's doing it.
All right, Kate Dorian, thank you very much for speaking to us there live from Dubai. Thank you. At least 3 people have been killed during an attempted jailbreak in Egypt. Another 10 were injured, including the prison director. Riot police confronted inmates trying to escape Damanhur prison north of Cairo. Among its inmates are 2 men sentenced for life for their role in the assassination of President Anwar Sadat. The prisoners' families say they fear for their safety. A senior government official says Yemen's President Ali Abdullah Saleh will respond positively to an opposition roadmap for him to step down. Thousands have again been demonstrating in the capital Sana'a and the northern city of Sada. At least 2 people have been killed in the latest confrontation between security forces and protesters calling for reform. 9 people have been killed in a suicide attack on a police station in northwestern Pakistan. Officials say a lorry carrying explosives rammed into the building in Hangu district. 30 others were wounded. Meanwhile, a judge in Lahore has ruled that a CIA contractor accused of killing 2 Pakistanis will not enjoy diplomatic immunity. Raymond Davis maintains he acted in self-defense. The case has strained relations between the U.S. and Pakistan and inflamed anti-American sentiment there. German police say the man arrested after 2 U.S. servicemen were shot dead at Frankfurt Airport was born in Germany, but his family is from Kosovo. The servicemen were shot dead as their military coach arrived at the airport. 2 other Air Force personnel were injured. Kosovo's Interior Minister said the suspect had been identified as Arif Uka.